When modifying your car, potential hazards in your engine bay could leave you stranded. So stay tuned. We got some stuff to talk about with the black car that ended up putting us on the lift for a month. So let me take you back to mid-July when we had an issue. We got a problem and we need to address it, as this is the second time this has happened within the last week. Got a couple of maintenance items we got to do on the black car. Plus, I wanted to bring it up because it could potentially be a hazard. If you're curious to see what I'm talking about, stick around, hit that like and subscribe, and let's get this car up in the air. In the black car the other day, as you can see from all the bugs on the bumper, and I noticed that there was a distinct smell of antifreeze, and you can see it here on the ground, a little bit of oil here. Antifreeze is definitely a very distinct, especially when it's burning on something hot. So I figured, I pulled over and we just started getting antifreeze all over the place. Now, this is a turbocharged vehicle. This isn't exactly the best application that we got going on right here, but my radiator hose is now shot, pouring antifreeze onto my pipe here. So now this is the second hose that has popped a hole in it from that turbo header. And usually I have this stuff tucked up pretty good, zip tied away, not a problem, you know, covered with high heat shield and high heat wrap, but it looks like my high heat shield has seen its purpose and seen its day. Of course, I always try to keep this stuff, you know, the crossover covered, just for kind of, you know, reasons of that too. You know, this is the potential hazards of running any sort of high performance header, turbo header, supercharger piping, supercharger belt. There's a lot of things on a Fox body Mustang, especially when we start modifying these cars, that could potentially turn into a dangerous situation like this. What ended up happening is eventually that shield gave up and that clamp burned through it, which, like, again, guys, this isn't the most ideal setup. I actually have recently changed some of that stuff, but I'm gonna actually have to heat shield some more hosing and O2 harnesses and battery wiring. There's a lot of things that can turn into a hazard underneath the hood of your car, especially when you're modifying it with a supercharger, turbocharger, bigger headers. You know, there's a number of things like the oil feed for your aftermarket oil gauge, if you have that, your harnesses being there that might, you know, they might kind of, you know, fall away from where you had them tucked, or even your clutch cable on stick shift cars can become burned very easily because you can see they run right beside the motor. So we went on Amazon, and one of the things that we decided to get, a little shield. Now, I know it's not the best shield or whatever, but a shield is a shield. But we're also going to header wrap the radiator hose, as I have excess header wrap sitting here from when we did our turbo kits recently on Dad's car. I have excess wrap, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my good lower radiator hoses, which, not this one, but I have one that's nice and clean and newish. And I'm actually going to wrap it, and then I'm going to shield it and try to get it away from the clamp itself, which shouldn't be a problem. I should be able to zip tie that away too, but I'll also have to double wrap it and make sure. And then I'm going to go back over some of this stuff, so it's definitely away from these hazards underneath of my hood. Guys, my stuff isn't perfect. It never will be. There's a lot of different other ways you can run this stuff. This is just the way I did it. It's not exactly the right answer. It's been fine for years. You're modifying these cars. You just got to continue to keep an eye on stuff like this, or it could potentially turn into a fire or a hazard. You know, nothing's worse than, you know, getting caught out in a cruise or whatever, and you spill a bunch of oil or antifreeze on the ground because something just kind of gave up or didn't, or shifted or anything like that. So, all right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this oil draining, as I'm gonna change the oil while I'm under here. It's been a while and it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna have to actually take the antifreeze out of the radiator. We'll just have to refill the radiator and burp the system again, which sucks. Like, you know, once you get the system right, it's like you don't ever want to touch it, but you know, now things like this happen, nothing you can do. I want the car to run. It's my street car, and you know, I can't have this thing down. I enjoy driving it like literally every day. So, you know, I got the white car sitting on slicks right now, and I can't drive either one of them. Starting to get the shakes. Can't drive my Fox body. All right, guys, so we're just gonna go ahead and stitch these two videos together. We ended up actually doing more than just the radiator hose fix that day. We ended up doing another bump steer kit as well. And if you remember correctly, we had an issue with my white car on the bump steer. It was steering kind of odd on the track, you know, under load or whatever. And that's pretty much the same problem that we have with the black car. And if you recall that video, I ended up buying more than one bump steer just for that very reason. But let me show you real quick on the radiator hose what we did underneath the hood. I just cannot keep a black car clean. Come on, I just wiped this thing off. All right, so you can see what I did there, and it's a lot better than what it was. I actually ended up header wrapping it, zip tying the heat shield, and it's, you know, it's pretty much an inch away from the clamp like it should be. I'm not real sure why the other radiator hose failed, but, you know, just like everything else when you're modifying it, whether it be with long tube headers or shorty headers or just modifying your engine bay whatsoever, just putting like modifications on it. And this could go for any car. You got to know what the hazards are that could happen. And you can see here too as well, I do my clutch cable the same way. I mean, you would think that these zip ties would just melt off, but you'd be kind of surprised. I haven't had one melt off yet. And we use them quite often when we're wrapping, so it's not a big deal. But again, these things all have their wearable, you know, time periods. You know, like I had that radiator hose wrapped, and it was wrapped pretty well with DEI, but it just ended up just failing over the years that I had it on there. So we ended up putting a super high miler one on there. If you didn't notice, that's the blue one, the Goodyear one. So very good radiator hose. We got it clamped in there. Had the system burp pretty much that day. Very happy with that, my coolant system being able to function as well as it does, just like on my white car. So if you guys ever have to actually do the radiator swap, radiator hose, whatever, fix on your car, one of the best tools I ever bought was this like little burp system. I think I got this from the parts store. And you can fill up the top of the radiator, and it actually comes in with the cap right here that just kind of goes on. It's got universal fittings here to fit different radiators, and you can fill it up and let it burp itself after you get the engine hot. It's definitely been one of the best tools I've ever bought. I mean, it was cheap, it was easy, and if you're messing around with Fox bodies and you're messing with your coolant system, definitely want one of those. All right, guys, I wanted to just bring you up to speed real quick on the black car with what, you know, it had sat on the lip for about a month while we were at Mustang Week with the white car. But, you know, real quick, we'll go over some of the hazards in the engine bay that I always keep my eye on. Definitely when you run in an oil feed in an aftermarket setup, you probably want to run a copper line. I got a plastic line here, and that could make a mess, and that could be definitely a very big potential hazard if that was a touch. A turbo header, a regular header, even in a stock trim. Naturally, your radiator hoses, you want to keep them away from heat. Your spark plug wires, definitely want to keep your spark plug wires, even in naturally aspirated cars, you know, give them a little bit of a boot, keeps the boot clean, keeps the boot cool, so it keeps it from burning and potentially having a misfire and or an issue in your engine bay having to change spark plug wires. You know, obviously harnesses, you want to keep harnesses and intake charge pipes, especially when they're near heat, turbo systems. That way it keeps them cool, keeps them out of the way, keep them zip tie up out of the way so they don't come down on your headers or get burned up from potential hazards in your engine bay. If you're a stick shift car, you know, obviously you want to change this cable out every so often. I run an SN95 cable. It's about 10 inches longer than a Fox body cable, so it gives me a lot more room to route it through the K-member area, and it has a better pull and better throw for my Fox body setup, because the Fox body one would naturally be real close to the header here on naturally aspirated and turbo, so it could definitely cause for a hazard for, you know, burning the cable up or you know, melting it inside. So you know, just wires, plug wires, fuel lines especially, keep them away from heat sources. You know, oil lines, antifreeze. When you're modifying your car, there is potential hazards everywhere under the engine bay. Just got to be mindful of them. So guys, if you enjoy videos like this, check out that join button below for channel membership. Check out that thanks button. I appreciate everybody for watching the video. Just a short video of updating the black car, where we're at and why it hasn't been on the channel much recently. So got it street form again. We're driving it, we're having fun with it. Guys, you build your cars the way you want to build your car. You enjoy your cars the way you want to enjoy your cars. So I just try to bring you extra information that may be helpful for you. So outside of that, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks for watching.